Hey everybody, welcome back to Teaching Tax Flow. I'm John Tripolsky from the TTF team, joined back here again by Mike Reed, CPA, might I not forget this time. And I'm really excited to figure out why in the world you have a survivor flag behind you, Mike. So I know today we're going to talk a good bit about what we call the financial gut check, right? Did I get that right? Is that what we're here talking about today or what?
Yes, sir. We're going to play a little game of Survivor, too. Start off with a little trivia. Do you know how long the TV show Survivor has been on the air?
I don't know exactly, but isn't it like 20 or 30? That's some crazy number of seasons. I do know that, right?
It is 48 seasons, 25 years. The TV show Survivor has survived for a while. So I think that's a little, a tribute to the name, which is great. I'm a fan of the show. I still watch it from time to time. Watched it when I was a kid. And there are just some elements and themes of this show that I want to bring to the table in today's discussion.
Let's hear it. Maybe this should be interesting to see how in the world, this actually connects with businesses and accounting. So, by the way, anybody that's listening or watching this, I really have no idea which path we're going down here. So it's kind of like, I guess that's kind of a Survivor reference, right? Like we're going down a path. We'll see what's there.
See if Johnny
see how it goes. We'll see how lucky I am.
Yeah.
The skills are not there, but we'll see. We'll test my luck.
All right. In this show, contestants go on, they compete in various games, and at the end, they get voted out. That's a big theme of the show. And when they are voted out, they have this torch in their hand. Okay, so they walk up, and I'm inside, so I didn't light on fire, but I wanted to. But be careful indoors. So you got to pretend it's on fire. They walk up to the host, Jeff Probst, and Jeff Probst has a fire tamper. This is my fire tamper, and he puts it on the flame, and he says, "The tribe has spoken." They leave the show, they're interviewed, they're asked a lot of questions. And one of the things, like a common thread in which these survivors say is, "I just felt something in my gut. Something was off." And they trusted their tribe mates, they trusted in something that was going on, but there was just something amiss. There was something in their gut. And it's so interesting when you see this season after season, these survivors that get voted out, that's a common thread. They say 25 years, 48 seasons, people are having these gut feelings. And yes, there are winners. Some people trust their gut, but a variety of them don't. And they keep getting voted out for potentially not trusting their gut. So it's very important to think about that for a moment and reflect on what's going on and what that might mean in our business, because I don't want the torch to get snuffed. I don't want the torch to get snuffed, okay? And that's why I'm saying this. So how can we think about what's going on in our gut from a financial perspective in our business, and how can I bring a few more elements or a few more pieces of knowledge to enhance that gut feel? That's what I'm looking to do here.
And I think, Mike, I'm going to take a stab at it too, that when you kind of have a gut feeling, or, your intuition tells you something, it's usually not pulled out of, the thin air, right? Like you have some maybe indirect knowledge or direct knowledge, or just something that you've consumed some way, shape, or form along the way. You just don't know where it is. And that's kind of driving that gut feeling, right? It's almost like if I'm sitting here at my desk and I'm like, oh man, I have my gut's telling me that my wife's going to be mad when I get home. I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because I didn't lock the front door or left everything out. Like something happened, right? So I think what you're saying here is, how do we build up the knowledge and just everything that's around there to give somebody's gut, air quotes gut, enough know-how to really kind of know what's going on here, right? So your gut is not going to tell you everything about your business, but you should know enough to tell your gut, to have your gut remind you, I guess is.
That's a good one.
One way to put it.
Absolutely.
Sounds like the beginning of like a rap song or something, right?
No, I can go with that.
We're talking about a rap song where you're holding the torch with the Survivor flag behind you. This is literally the beginning of a reality show.
It is. We're kind of creating a podcast into a reality TV show now. So yeah, hopefully it goes well. All right, I'm gonna put the torch aside. Let's put on our Survivor buffs, okay? And let's start talking about some of this. All right, let's do it.
I got to get suited up here. All right. Now I'm in prep mode.
Okay. So the expectation here is to not be an accountant. The expectation is to trust your gut, know enough to be dangerous, and know when to raise your hand and ask an accountant a question. Because sometimes we just don't know how to raise our hand because we don't know what we don't know. And so let's explore that. Got 3 items I want to bring to the table here. The first one is check revenue, check sales. Just look at your P&L and identify, does it make sense? Okay, your gut should hopefully lead you to that place anyways, but how can I vet that sensibility out just a little bit more? I want
That's a good word you use there, actually, sensibility, right? Like I think it's sensibility is basically the sensible way to say gut feeling,
it
right?
is.
Like I think that's the best way to put it. So really what you're saying here, right, is again, kind of how are you creating that intangible environment knowledge base to where you kind of know where things are at any given time, right? So you're kind of getting a read,
Oh,
but
definitely.
I'm
Definitely a
drawing a
read.
blank on another word here, but like a subconscious read, if you will.
Yeah, and maybe even
Gotcha.
pull out a little piece of paper and write something down. It should take you 5 minutes kind of thought. Not
Right.
a
No,
deep
that's awesome.
financial review here on revenue. And there's really 2 elements to it. Identify what are the key driving units and the price associated with that. If I'm selling product, it could be an item. If I'm selling a service, it could be hours of time, could be monthly charge, could be number of clients. What is that quantity of something that isn't valued in dollar yet? How often and what is the frequency? What is that number? Times an average rate or price. It's not going to
Okay,
get
I'm
you to
following
tie
you.
to that revenue item, but you want to be in what I'm going to consider the ballpark or materially accurate.
And everybody that's watching this, by the way, you can take him serious even with that thing on his head because he does know what he's talking about. It just adds to the fun. This is perfect, man.
Hopefully.
Summer's coming up. I'm going to see if you actually wear that thing out and about in public and see if you have a tan line, like right across your forehead right there. And then we'll know.
I'm a runner, so sometimes I do run with these things on my head. So they go,
Hey,
yeah, put a little sweat in it.
it's usable.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So that's your first one,
Yep.
right?
Now it's number 1. If that doesn't feel right, just know when to ask the question. At that point in time, we're raising our hand. I'm not asking and not saying you got to do some deep analysis. You could punt that to somebody else. Maybe you do need to do a deep analysis. And if you don't know what your units are and you don't know what your average sales price is, you've got your homework. You need to go figure that out. You need to have that in your back pocket. So there's just more intuition at the top of your head. So number 2, reconcile cash. It's the element of looking at a business bank account and just making sure that every single transaction within the period that you're reporting and analyzing has been accounted for. Hopefully you've done the accounting correctly, but all I'm saying is you just got to make sure that it was accounted for. If you have a system with a balance sheet, you have an advantage there because the balance sheet is going to provide a report that shows you a cash ending balance for the year. This will take you 1 minute. Get on your phone, punch in your credentials into your phone, look at the cash balance in your real bank account, and look at that report. They should equal. There are some exceptions. I'm not going to get into the exceptions, but by and large, they should equal. If they don't equal, raise your hand. What's going on? Why doesn't it equal? If you see more than one cash account that isn't showing up on that mobile app you have, why? Raise your hand. Ask why. There's something going on. If you don't have a balance sheet, I will always recommend getting one, but sometimes we don't have one because we're not at the stage in our business where we have one. You're at a little bit of a disadvantage potentially, but if you've got 50 or less transactions, you can probably look at a spreadsheet, take a quick glance, subtract the beginning and ending value to know how many transactions should have the value of it, and then sum up the amount of transactions that you accounted for. So it's a few more steps. It's not as quick as looking at your phone, but if you have a small amount of transactions, it works.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And really, what I'm kind of noticing here, a little bit of a trend, right, is we're trying to get somebody to that comfortable state of not only having a gut feeling, but being able to trust it
Mm-hmm.
and enough, right? And I can kind of see this, in the real world of being something where, if you're in a leadership position or it is your business and you're looking to grow or you have all these opportunities kind of flying at you all day, every day, you kind of having that good feeling of what's going on without having to go and do a deep dive into, your records and your statements and whatnot, it will really kind of help you move along throughout the day and making those decisions, not only more confidently, but probably help you make the right decisions, not, you know, trusting your, we'll say using your brain over your heart a little bit more, because I've seen people that I'm sure you have too, they make some very emotional decisions, which they're very passionate about. But if they would have had really a good understanding or a better understanding of what we're talking about here, they probably would have avoided the, we'll call it a jump into a canyon financially and basically self-destruct at some point.
We could probably come up with a variety of things that what the gut's made out of. I think that you hit on a couple points with your heart and your brain. And I think a lot of the time the gut is maybe the combination of those two. That's kind of my opinion. I'm trying to use some raw data elements that are more along the brain objective element of it to balance out with your heart and what you know is right. And that's going to make up your gut.
That's a great way to put it. Right. We've defined what the business gut is.
We did. I didn't even have to define until you said that, actually. So thank you, Johnny.
Hey,
and now, no.
I'll take this much credit. Maybe a little more.
All right. The third one, I call all the other BS. Now, I meant balance sheet when I said that, right?
I do now.
If you don't have a balance sheet, again, there could be a little bit of a disadvantage here because you can't double check all the other elements that might be on a balance sheet. But more or less, the balance sheet is going to have a cash balance on it. It's going to show how much debt you owe. It's going to show a variety of other assets or liabilities. Things on the balance sheet have to be maintained. And so how do I know something is not being maintained? Because if the balance sheet isn't maintained, the way accounting works is the P&L has a big opportunity to be misstated. If the P&L is misstated, then the report I'm giving to my tax accountant is wrong, and we can have all the strategies in the world and all the great things, but if the raw set of data, that raw piece was wrong in the first place, it's wrong, it's wrong. Doesn't matter what layer of strategy we put on top of it. You're starting with a bad slate. Foundation is off.
Basically the same as, like you say, foundation, literally like building a house. You can have the most beautiful, strongest house above ground in the world, but if everything below ground is total beep, you know what? This means nothing. This is just a temporary gain, and you're destined for failure.
I have seen some moments in time where the balance sheet was not maintained, and there's some really difficult conversations that happen, and they don't happen in year one, they don't happen in year two, they happen later. And we think something's okay because we're not maintaining it and double checking it. I can't go into every example, but I've seen some tough situations with that. There's two things, though. I'm not asking anybody to be an expert in the balance sheet because a lot of people don't understand it, but there's two things I'll say from it. What is some of the BS you should look for? Run that report and look at those accounts. If the balance didn't change from one year to the next, raise your hand and ask, is that okay? A lot of the time they should. There are some cases when they don't. If any one of those numbers is negative, raise your hand and ask. There are some cases, of course, when it should be negative, but it's worth raising your hand and asking. And that's it. Again, if you know how to run your balance sheet report and look for just those two things, shouldn't take you long, and you should know exactly how to fix it. But I want you to raise your hand because I want you to survive your finances, and I want you to enhance that gut with a little more evidence.
Basically, we're here talking about businesses and gut health, and we have nothing to do with personal health and nutrition here, right?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
no, this was awesome. Like as always, man, great conversation. I love that we survived this one. We're helping everybody else survive this one. And honestly, I think a lot of this, I'm thinking of one example where this could really go awry, right? Like if somebody has a wrong feeling about something and say they go make a new hire and they think that, they can financially afford it. They think the business needs this, but they're so off in what's really going on. They're so disconnected from it, or it's the wrong information that they have. And that could obviously do more damage than help. So I could see that being the thing, right?
Absolutely. There's a variety of things that can happen. That is definitely one of them. And it's a tough conversation. They lead to tough conversations.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. But
Yeah.
I appreciate you running through this again, man. Great example, great topic, and really a damn good prop.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
We're glad you brought it, man. Anybody that's listening to this, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check it out. There's a whole playlist that me and Mike are just populating with these conversations. And we'll see everybody back here in a couple weeks. We'll think up another great topic that we can dive into and discuss. And again, we look forward to see what Mike kind of pulls out of the archives of his college closet maybe and brings us something good of the prop world. So we'll see everybody very soon. Mike, thanks again, buddy.
Thanks.
We'll see you. Bye now.